And we're live.
Awesome. Hi.
All right. Hey, everybody. Todd SchrotH here, Agents Who Win. Just wanted to do a quick intro with Dan Long with PrimeLending. We are bringing back an Ashleigh with Hartsock Realty. I wanted to talk today about first-time buyers and how to succeed with that market. So I'm excited to bring on the lender side and the agent side, someone who's working with a lot of first-time buyers, and we want to find out what they're doing to help make their buyers' offers accepted. And Dan, I wanted to talk to you today about what you're doing to help your realtor partners get their buyers' offers accepted. And not to pick on you, but kind of what's going on with rates. We're going to have that combo today too, because it was all over Facebook yesterday. Obviously, that's where I see my news because I don't really turn the TV on to see 3/4 point jump. And, I also want to find out what we should be doing with our buyers today to help, to make sure they're not overbuying right now because the rates have gone up, and how to help, educate them as far as what their qualification process is. But going into that, follow us on Agents Who Win. We're on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, and we'll go from here. All right, Dan, so let's talk about rates real quick.
All right. So, you guys, a lot of people don't realize this, but you guys can go on Mortgage Daily News. I don't know if you guys know that website. It's free. Anyone can go on it. It does really educate consumers about the market. So for us, right, to really, rates aren't pretty. It's been going down, but I just want to let you guys know that rates are still at historic lows, right? Even after 08 and 07, all right, in 2012, the lowest rates were around 4%. So regardless, yes, rates have gone up. You're not getting the twos anymore. Okay, but they're still around 3%, 3 1/8, 3.5, 3 1/4. So rates are still at historic lows. So there's really nothing to be really that scared of. But inflation, right? The Fed is looking at that as a trigger to how much more they can purchase in mortgage-backed securities. And we all know the Fed manages inflation with higher rates.
So I was going to say, like you mentioned, they are still at historic lows. I mean, when people went from 3 to 3 3/8, it's still below 4%. It's still great, but it does change the approval numbers. That's the big thing we've got to look at. So keep going. Sorry.
No worries. No, you're right. Well, what it did change is for refinances. I mean, you got people that want to refinance to a 15, 10-year term. But they called us this week, and listen, the rates are higher than what they have. So refis have dropped off if you haven't taken advantage of it 6 months ago. But for purchases, like I said, it might jump your payment a couple, $20, $30 a month. But again, you're still getting a very, very good rate.
So here's a math question for you. If my rate goes up 1/4 point, what does that do to my purchasing power?
So your rate goes up 1/4 point. It might affect your DTI just a little bit more, right? It increases our P&I payment. But like I said, 1/4 point, depending on your purchase price and everything of that nature, it'll affect just a tad. But like I said, we've had some clients here that we've locked in at 1/4% higher, and it affected just a little bit, but we were still able to get them qualified and into the process.
So are you thinking like 20,000 on 1/4 point or 10,000 on 1/4 point?
Are you talking about for the life of the
sales
loan?
price? Yeah, sales price.
I'm thinking about maybe 10,000.
Okay. Because that's a key thing. Because like yesterday, obviously the rates went up, I don't know, 1/2 to 3/4 of a point, and my buyers approved at 500 or 400 or 300, and they're at their threshold, and then of course we're all in bidding wars, so we're going to go to 510 or 515, and all of a sudden now that 15,000, because the rates went up, I can't go that threshold anymore, so we need to start looking just below, for what's there.
Yeah. I don't want to emphasize rates too much. Just what consumers and especially first-time home buyers have to remember, right? It's all income based. Right. Any loan you get has to be based on your income. So I know, especially with realtors, sometimes we got to break the news to you, but you know, Todd, I'm sorry, but you can't afford that $500,000 house.
Come
Like,
on.
yeah, I mean, you only qualify where your max qualification is 350.
Yeah.
So then I go to Ashleigh, like, hey, Ashleigh, you know, I spoke to Todd, great conversation we had. Todd's saying he can get 500,000, but based on his income and what the information he's provided us, 350 is where it's comfortable, right? And so that's where we connect with that, and that's how we vet our clients with our pre-approvals. We believe our pre-approval should hold weight, not just something you get off the internet where, you know, everyone gets it and all of a sudden 2 weeks later, 2 weeks to closing, you know, they say, well, sorry, we can't do anything for you. And now Ashleigh's out of a deal and Todd's upset and everyone's upset, right? Because we all lost money in the deal.
I just had a meeting with a lender right before this, one of our local guys, and we were talking about like with the rates and like doing the extensions. And his like, our goal is to lock you 3 days before, or not lock you, but put our closing date in our system 3 days before the actual closing date, and do the lock, you know, at the closing date or longer. Because if there's a hiccup, especially like yesterday, if someone was supposed to close yesterday and then the rate was done, and now I'm sorry, we have to we can't lock you any further because you've already had that extension for some reasons. Now you've got to go to the higher bump. So are you trying to lock your guys in a little longer, or what is your suggestion there?
So you can't lock a rate without a property address.
Right.
So that's right. We all know that. So yeah, so a couple of people that we have on our team and a couple of clients, we lock them in because you know, there's not too much we can control, right? If the attorney doesn't get the contract to sign contract to us in time, the attorney review's taking too long, the seller's not signing the contract. So when we do get those things, and of course with yesterday, you know, well, at least for us, we repriced 2-3 times. So it was very hectic.
Yeah.
We had to lock in clients here and now because they wouldn't have gotten the rates they have now. They would have gotten probably an 1/8 or 2/8 higher. So I mean,
it's good to get them to understand where they're at, you know, where they're sitting there. So Ashley, let's dive into what you have going on. So what are some of the things you're doing for your buyers right now, especially in this case, you know, to get their, let's talk about getting their offer accepted, because that's the primary goal here. What are you doing with your first time buyers, you know, especially in the multiple offer situations? Because I've got some properties we're getting 28 offers on, and it's like, you know, the conventional versus the FHA versus the guy who needs closing costs. You know, how are you structuring your stuff to make sure that they're getting their stuff done?
Well, I think it starts all at the pre-approval process. When you're trying to get, you know, it's just all about educating the client. So, I mean, in this competitive market, I'm sorry, but FHA just falls a little lower than conventional or cash. And that's just the truth of the matter. So realistically educating them, like, if you can come up with a bigger down payment, we can get you conventional and you'll have more of a chance. So that's one of the steps that we use. But also knowing that, you know, when I first started, you know, it was no big deal. We, you know, would ask for closing costs. We'd ask us, you might have to get a warranty yourself. It's all about educating them and understanding that realistically, the best offer is the one with no contingencies, best loan, and, you know, quickest close.
So Dan, let's tie this in here. So my buyer today needs closing cost. How much can I bump my rate up to cover that? And can you do that? And can I get my whole 3% covered that way? Or is it only like 1.5 points and then we need to find 1.5 points somewhere else?
Are you talking about borrower paid points?
Yeah.
For us
like,
lenders?
so if I've got my normal is 3% in closing costs that I typically would be used to ask for on a buyer side. You know, normally we could play with the rates a little bit to get that covered. I know it's not the whole thing, but I only have 3% down or 3.5% down. So what are some strategies on the finance side that I can do to help get that covered?
So for us, it's, well, because we don't charge any points on our loans. That's what makes us a little bit more special than others. I mean, listen, we can charge points for some. We've had some clients ask, listen, I'll pay you to get this 1/8 lower. Okay, you know, it's fully disclosed, but like I said, we don't charge points on our loans. So when clients have, you're saying they have a struggle with closing costs and the down payment.
So let's talk about the normal first-time buyer. You know, I've saved up my 3.5%. I'm FHA or I'm on conventional with a 5% down, but I need help with closing costs. Normally, we would say, okay, cool. You know, all you need on a $300,000 house is around 10 grand, and I'm going to get the rest of it from the seller. Just going to, you know, either you pay him $290 and pay your own, or pay him $300 and get them to pay it and pay your closing. And you know, if you build it into the sales price, we're paying for the closing cost over a 30-year period. Versus, let me build it into the rate. You know, can I bump it? If my rate's 3.5, can I go to 3.25 or 3 3/4 and get it paid that way somehow? Is there a strategy behind that?
For me, not that I know of.
Okay.
So what we do is we really coach. So we give out loan estimates. What we do is we build out a total cost analysis for clients. So what we do is we tell them up front, like, hey, so you have 3% down. These will be the closing costs. All right. And then, so this is what you need to have saved up.
Okay.
And of course, if it takes time, it takes time. Right.
Yeah.
So we always vet the client, like, listen, you have assets. All right. This is the road that we'll need to take. So that's really all there is to it. So if we can get the clients really early, not under contract, not, you know, any of those things. If we get to the clients early and we're able to coach them up that this process this is what it's going to take for you to get that house at that price in this county, or at least for New Jersey. Right. So that's how we really approach these things.
Gotcha. Okay. So Ashleigh, once you guys are accepted, are you seeing a lot of buyers switching from FHA to conventional to try and get their offers accepted?
Well, I mean, I've seen it happen, but I've also seen the opposite, where they thought they were approved for conventional, and then it turns out they were actually approved FHA.
Okay.
Realistically, I think it's more so like the contract falls through. It's just because through either it's credit or through their income or something else, they're just not able to go conventional. Right. So, I mean, I've tried to coach people and tell them, I mean, you need to do what you can and see what you can to get this to go conventional. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not up to them. It's up to the bank too. It's up to, you know. Yep.
I have one buyer who was, we were going to do, I think it was 10% down conventional, and he had VA, or he had an opportunity to VA, and the rate was like a point lower for some reason. And the seller refused to sign the addendum to let him switch to VA and get a much better savings. She goes, "You guys can do the VA appraisal. That's not a problem. We're not gonna do VA because of the appraisal situations." I'm like, I don't know what your problem is, but the VA appraisals have been spot on for us the last 3 years. And you know, we got the appraisal done, and Shona came in at value. She's afraid that the thing was going to come down low. The VA appraisal was going to come down lower on the house, and they didn't. And so after that was done, they ended up signing the addendum. So we stayed with the conventional, but did the VA appraisal. And once that got done, then they were like, okay, cool. Now we know we can still go forward to closing. There's no VA repairs or anything else. Now we'll go ahead and sign your addendum.
That's a good idea.
That's the problem, is that the sellers have to agree to the financing switch, especially when it's going to a government loan. You know, this is maybe a question for you, Dan, is if we've got a FHA buyer, and obviously 28 offers on an affordable house is not going to happen with an FHA, and we go to conventional, what are the credit differences that you have to have on a conventional versus an FHA? That's the reason I had to go FHA originally, because I know they have 3% down conventional versus the 3.5 on a FHA.
So FHA, right? FHA's minimum is 620.
Okay.
Conventional is minimum is 640.
Yep.
Okay. Do you see it that hard to, like, so I've lost 3 offers. I'm getting stressed out. I'm just going to renew my lease and wait another year. Let's not do that. Let's talk about how we can get our points up, our credit up 20 points. Can you coach buyers on doing that? And is it easy to get your score up 20 points to be able to get to that next level?
Yeah. So what we do is we'll when we run credit, right, we have the report. All right, and we look at it. We look at the details. We look at why the DTI is so high, right? So and if it's salvageable, right? If they're close to the score, let's say they're at a mid score of 610.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll tell them like, hey, listen, we running these numbers, right? If you pay off your Macy's card down $2,000 and you pay off this other Amazon card by $1,500, right? Or you could show us, sometimes credit reports, they show up as bigger payments than what they really are. So the client would say, listen, I'm only paying $100 on this. Well, on the report, it's saying you're $500 every month that you're paying. So that does happen. And then we try to square it. Like, all right, so listen, let's get a statement saying the payment's not that, and that will help the DTI, of course, because the monthly debt that they have to pay is lower. And so that could change, right? That could change a lot of things. And so then we'll try to get a rescore and get statements from the client saying that they paid off the card or paid it down to a reasonable amount.
So if I had a property in mind and I needed to get that switch done, if I was able to get the money to the Macy's, and if I just decide to stop shopping on Amazon and get my Amazon card paid down, which it's hard to stop shopping on Amazon because everything is there. But how fast can that rapid rescore happen?
It would take probably a week or two.
Okay. So that's going to be hard to do it during mid-transaction.
Yep. Yeah,
mid-transaction is very, very difficult.
And obviously, if it's mid-transaction, you've already got the property locked down, so it really doesn't matter. It's something you want to do ahead of time, because you're obviously that's how you're trying to get your offers accepted.
All right.
Cool. So, Ashleigh, give us a little more ideas on what you're doing with the buyers and like if you're getting rid of contingencies on the properties as far as making them clean as possible. I don't need to sell the house, because obviously it's a first-time buyer. You're not doing closing costs. Are you trying to waive appraisals? Are you trying to waive inspections? Or are you still trying to get those done? Because that's scary on a first-time buyer. I don't want to waive those things because I don't want to overpay and I don't want to buy a lemon.
So, I mean, we haven't gotten to the point where I've seen any waiving of appraisals. We're not, offers are going over. But as far as I know, not too many have actually had lower appraisals on it. So, but in terms of inspections, what I've begun telling people is I would never tell anybody to waive an inspection. I would never do that. What I do say is, do you have an inspector? Do you want to take them on your showing when you go see the property? Really, if they like it, they're not sure. Bring your buddy who's a contractor, and then maybe in the inspection, I've heard other people do, inspection just for informational purposes or, that they won't be asking for anything from the seller. I think the inspection still scares some people, but realistically, I really find it, I don't like telling them to waive the inspection unless they have a way to actually do one beforehand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've got the time to spend around the house. So what I've done is, I'm playing the investor side like you had before we got into real estate. We can kind of pick out some things on a house. Not that I'm an inspector. I'm not a certified inspector. I could build a house from the ground up, but I'm not. Don't take my word as we're walking through a house, but I'll just give you my opinion, and you can go call the inspector and get it from them. But it's like you're looking at the ACs, you're looking at the roofs, you're looking at the structure, what's around. If you see cracking, hey, this is something that may come up on the inspections. What are the major items that are going on? Do you see a lot of wood rot happening? Because I have my sellers are like, yeah, we want to sell the house as is. I'm like, that's great. Let's walk your house and see how bad as is really is. Because if as is just I've got a couple of GFIs that I need to fix and some wallpaper that's falling, leave it. Buyers can fix that for $500. But I tell them, when we're doing our inspections, is if it's big ticket items, you're going to see renegotiation happening. All of our offers are as is, but they're subject to inspection. 3 things can happen: walk away, renegotiate, or move forward. Moving forward is just if there's minor things that need to be done. We just got on one we did first time home buyer. They told me they had 10% down. Then dad said he was going to do the other 10, so they didn't have MI. Come to find out, it was only going 5% down, and we ended up having to put a new roof on and fixing the gable in the back with a bunch of rotted wood. And the appraisal came in $20,000 less. And so we renegotiated a new roof for $9,000, And when we got the appraisal down, that had to go away. And we got $20,000 off the house because the appraisal did not come in where we needed it. And my conversation to them was, well, you were willing to pay $300 and get a new roof then, but you're getting $20,000 off what you were willing to pay for it. So, let's pay for the roof outside of closing, borrow money from dad that you were going to do before. Yep. And so it's like, but we asked for minimal stuff once we got the inspections done, and the things that we didn't see, what's in the attic, what's, high up, etc. So those are like the kind of the key things there. We've had a lot of appraisal issues in Orlando recently. I mean, like 9 out of my last 10 closings this year have had either between $5,000 and $50,000 lower. So it's really bad. I mean, I wish it would get consistent. Like, guys, the market's going up. The appraiser's saying the market's stable. Like, why did we go from 500 to 550 on an offer and you're coming in at 490 on the appraisal? So that's a tough part. How are things in the Jersey market with that?
We've had for a couple of under appraisals. We've had a couple. Sometimes 20,000. We only had one that was a really big under appraise, 80,000. So that
how do you
it hurt a lot.
10 or 10% off on a value sometimes is like what we're seeing almost.
Yeah. So but most of the time they make value.
Yeah, good. I mean, it makes consistency. It's been an interesting year so far because it's like the ones we didn't think would appraise are appraising, and the ones that should appraise are not appraising. So it's kind of the back and forth game. So, well, once you guys get to so Ashleigh, tell us about like your after closing stuff. Do you do anything special for your buyers?
Like gifts or
fun stuff? What do you have going on?
So
we talked about the strategy, so let's talk about after. Let's coach a little bit on the after effect of how to get the referral from that buyer.
Well, okay, so I do a couple things. Obviously, day of closing, I always give like a gift certificate to a local restaurant. I'm like, have lunch on me. You just signed your life away. So, but then especially for my first time home buyers, I love to get like personalized, little like wood plaques or. Nice. I did like a metal sign with somebody's initial on it, and it's so sweet because, like this process is really scary for them.
Yeah.
But like that first home is just like the big prize they've been working for so long. And it really just kind of helps the transition. They're so excited. And, but even after closing and everything like that, I touch base. So, send out cards on home anniversaries. I actually, delivered some pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving, so that was fun.
We keep talking about doing that. It's been 5 years we've had the conversation. We still haven't done it. It's our goal this year to finally implement. It's just a lot of clients to do it to, but
that's exactly the problem. I mean, I have enough that it's still all day, but it's
you gotta find the system because otherwise it'll take up the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan, on your side, so question, I had it in my head and I got to remember it now. What are some suggestions you can offer realtors with their lender partners that they can do to help be successful? I mean, is it the lender reaching out to the other agent to talk about the buyers? Is it the buyers, doing a little bit more of a letter? Like, let's talk about some ideas there. That's
awesome, right? So, well, like for us, like definitely want to partner up with realtors, right? As a lender, love to have trusted sources. So of course we have our, co-marketing letters, our co-marketing landing pages, right? So we usually help some of our realtors with that. You have a listing, all right, we can do a single property site with, of course, your name, my name. And if someone were to be interested in that, they type their name in, they fill out a small questionnaire, right? And then both Ashleigh and I would get the lead referral or the lead from that landing page, right? But also for me, I do call realtors, I do cold call them. And the biggest thing in this market, we all know inventory is low. Mm-hmm. So how do we do that? Builders are trying to build as fast as they can. Construction costs are higher now. Lumber's up over 140% over a couple years. You have aluminum that's skyrocketing now. So the cost of products are up. So how do we help our realtors try to get those families in the properties that they might not like one or two things about?
Yeah.
All right. So you might, so for example, Todd, how many clients have you shown houses to that I don't like these bathrooms.
Oh,
They love everything else.
All of them.
Right?
Yeah,
they
all
love
of
the
them.
neighborhood. They love the backyard. They love everything else about it. But these bathrooms, they can't deal with it.
It is my bathroom for 8 years, but guess what?
Yeah.
I love the pool, I love the driveway, and I love the yard.
You love everything else about it, but it's just a little thing that, well, guess what? So let's talk about renovation loans.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? That's something that we tell our realtors, hey, listen, this might be an avenue, right? Because we, in PrimeLending, we specialize in renovation loans, right? So like a renovation purchase, it's the same thing as a purchase, right? Except now we add the renovation piece. It's still one loan, one closing, right? And it's based off the as completed value. There's a minimum to it, right? If it's a small project, we have a product for that. If it's a big project with some maybe foundational repairs, we have, our Fannie Mae home style, right? So we tell our realtors, like, this might be an avenue if that client, of course, qualifies for it, because it's always based off the as completed value.
Right.
So if the price of the house is $300,000, and let's say with all the repairs and the appraisal comes in at $320,000, right? So now we have to figure, okay, now you want 5% down. It's 5% down on that $320,000.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but now you have that client that has the house they want because they loved everything else about it, and now they have their own bathrooms and maybe a walk-in closet for the wife and a nice man cave for the husband, depending on what they wanted part of that construction, the renovation of the home. So that's one thing in this market, because that's how we're trying to deal with the lack of inventory, right?
You can pick something you don't like and make it what you like. Now, so how does the offers get structured like that? Because if I'm sitting here with multiple offers and I see, okay, I got Johnny with 10% down conventional financing, and I got Sally over here with cash, and I got well, let's not say cash, because unfortunately cash is king. And I got FBK, and I've got just a normal product over here. But then I see this approval letter for $320,000, renovation loan, etc. How does that compete in a multiple offer situation?
Usually they're not as they don't want to look at it as, okay, well, instead of doing work, right, I could just take the other offers. So these are really for properties that might not have crazy amount of offers.
Okay.
Maybe those slow properties, it's just like, well, everyone doesn't like something about the bathrooms. Everyone doesn't like something about that house. So I wouldn't say it's anything if houses have a lot of offers, those houses, mostly people don't say, I don't like this. No, they like the house. So right. It could be just about that one house. It's like that one thing that everyone just doesn't like. And the seller might be having a hard time doing it, or they're not getting the buyers that they want. So if they have someone, be like, hey, really, it's for the realtors. The realtors should really get that in and be like, it's just another tool for them to be like, you know what, this house, we could do something with it, and that's just an option for them to tell the clients, listen, if that's the only thing that you don't like about it, we can possibly change that.
And I think you should talk. That's important for the realtors to communicate to the buyers. That's really important because it's not a competitive loan, but it's another option. And I think that's really important.
I think it's great on our side, on the agent side, because that will allow us to say to the listing agent, look, this is a renovation loan, so we're going to be doing work now. So we're going to do an inspection to make sure the foundation's not crumbling. We don't care about anything else because we're going to be fixing it with money from the lender. So much easier situation. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's because listen, all you guys struggling with the same thing. It's the lack of inventory.
Yeah.
And builders can't build fast enough.
Yep.
And we get that.
We've had a lot of buyers moving out of our area or out of I wanted to live in this zip code, and all of a sudden there's nothing. They're tired of it. So they go to the next zip code over, and we'll just build new construction. And it may not be the school they wanted, but let's live here 5 years and let's figure it out, later on and make that move. So they're going to a lot more new construction happening. We're finding a lot of builders here now actually building communities as rentals. Like D.R. Horton is building one, Lennar is building one. We need the inventory. Why are you building these things as rentals? And just the weirdest conversation I've been having the last few weeks about some of the communities around our area.
I would say for our area, we have a lot of, businesses, hospitals, manufacturing. We have a lot of people coming into our area. So we do have a lot of builders that are building communities of rentals. And I'll tell you what, those rentals are going just as fast as the houses.
Yeah, oh yeah, because they can't find anywhere to rent. And I mean, if I could rent a brand new house, my God, that's ideal. Versus something that someone's been through, and I've got to deal with all the old dog stains of the old dirty walls and other stuff. And still pay top dollar because there is no inventory even on the rental side.
Yep.
So, that's crazy. Well, guys, I appreciate you jumping on today. Any final words, Ashleigh, on some home buyer tips or first-time buyer tips on the agent side?
Yes, I forgot to mention one thing, and it's really important. Obviously, the main aspect is educate your buyers.
Yeah.
Educate. But also, what I found is probably a key in getting an offer accepted is telling your story.
Okay.
I have done this at least twice, and it's definitely, I've been told by the other agent that was the reason they picked their offer. So you tell your story, like your buyer loves this property. It's perfect for her family, for her kids. They just want to have them grow up there, and that's actually one of the ones that got our offer accepted.
Nice.
And just telling them, we found that the buyer and seller had similar stories. Their wives had passed away, both of them recently in the past few months. And, one was looking to just move away and the one was trying to start over. So it was just really, and always try it. You never know what could happen. I think that there's one house for everybody. I think everything happens for a reason. If you weren't meant to get this house, you're not going to get it. I think it really is. So I think that's an important thing everybody needs to keep in mind.
So you're not having the buyer send a buyer letter. You're talking to the agents about the buyer itself. And I think that's great because you're communicating with the agent itself. Because, again, affordable house, I'm getting 20 to 25 offers on it. And instead of me just getting an email and saying, here's your offer, I appreciate your phone call to talk about it a little bit. Because when I do present, I'm not walking in with 25 contracts on the dining table. I'm calling them and I'm talking about offer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
And it's funny. Sometimes I'll send a Dropbox link to them so they can see all the same stuff. So they can see all the same stuff as I am if they want to actually physically look at them. But I'll say, this buyer, we've got this one at 220, but this one at 215. But I spoke to this agent and I know Dan on the lending side. He does an awesome job. He gets it closed. And the agents called me and reiterated why we should look at her offer. And it's not always about numbers. It's always about closing. And because I can get 220, 225, but if I can get 215 and know it's going to close, cool. Because I got awesome partners on the other side that's coming along here. And let's talk about the buyer just a little bit. And so I have that relationship with you, Ashleigh. So I know that, you're going to tell me that story and it's something I can relay back to my sellers because out of 10 offers, only 2 people call. Instead, it's just, here's my offer. And then let's talk about, and hope they respond. And as a listing agent, when I send my mass email back to say your offer wasn't accepted, because I can't email 10 or 20 people that, hey, sorry, we didn't get your offer. I'll get an email the next day. And this is on a Sunday when I send the bulk email out. It's a Monday and a Tuesday. I'm getting emails. Hey, we're just checking in on our offer. Did you guys, what happened? Like, did you not get the emails? And why are you messaging me on a Tuesday when your offer was sent in on a Friday? That's not following up with the agents.
No.
They only send an email, not even a phone call. So it is pick up the phone because I want to hear it.
Personal touch.
Yeah.
The sellers, this is personal to them. This is their home. This is their baby. They want to know it's going to be taken care of and loved just like they did.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
So Ashleigh, what market are you in? Now, let's talk about some referrals, how we can get some referrals back to you.
I'm Northwest Ohio. I can sell all of Ohio, but we're Northwest Ohio.
Okay. You want to drive to South Ohio?
Well, I've driven
Depends on the price point.
An hour each direction, so I will.
I'll go down to South Florida for the right price point. If you want to buy something in Key West, I'm down there because I could use a vacation.
Right. Got it. I'm buying a vacation home.
Yes. I'm in Orlando if anybody ever needs anything, by the way. Dan, wanted to just one more top tip from you on the how to get our offers accepted or what you can offer for the first-time buyers. And let's talk about how we can bring some referrals back to you as well.
All right. Well, I think you touched upon it before, Todd. It's closing dates. we close our deals, right? We are on time. And that's what I think a lot of people, like you said, they overlook, right? There's a lot of horror stories you probably hear out there. Right? Listen, we're not going to close on time. What do you mean? Right? And then of course, Todd's calling me, and then you have Ashleigh. Let's pretend Ashleigh's the seller. Ashleigh's calling me like, what's going on? Right? And now it's a panic. And of course, everyone's going to point the finger at
you,
right, the lender.
Yep.
Right. So, but it hurts. But in the end, it hurts everyone.
Yeah.
Right. It hurts you. It hurts Ashleigh. It hurts everyone. Because no one's going to be in a good mood after that, especially going through the whole process, doing all the work. Right. So we are very, very big on closing. Right. We are very dedicated to mortgages here, right? We don't do anything like checking. We don't do savings, right? We don't do any of that, right? Our division is dedicated to mortgages only. So we have a huge, huge team dedicated to this. So that's what I would say. I mean, like I said, we want our pre-approvals to hold some weight. And of course, when people hear our name, they want to hear, oh, I know they're going to close.
He closes on time.
Closes on time, right? As long as our end is good, right? We all know the real estate transaction has a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control everything, but what I can control is what's everything on our end.
Mm-hmm.
I think the final tip that I can offer is, and more on the lending side, is once you get the buyers in there, once you connect with the buyer, coach them along to before they even start writing offers to have all their documents in. It's not even a pre-qualification or pre-approval. We've already been desktop underwritten. Like I can close in 2 weeks. All we need is an inspection and appraisal, and I can order those right away. And that way, you're solid and you're not dealing with anything, and you're not going to have the closing delay. If you need an updated pay stub or bank statement, that's the normal process. But I'm not still digging for tax returns and all that. So it's like get the buyers to get all their docs into the lender, be financially ready to purchase, and then we can get things going. So I think that's a good final. So Dan, for you're in the New Jersey market, you guys can lend across all 50 states. That's correct?
Correct.
Cool. And so where I was going to say drop some contact info, but drop y'all's contact info in the comments, and that way if anybody wants to reach out on the lending side and the referral for Ohio, we can definitely get you guys some business from this.
No, much appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Everyone, thanks for tuning in today. We'll be back on Monday with some coaching tips with Daniel Betancourt. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll have a great weekend.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks for the invitation, Todd.